Hey, it's Shabes. We were on episode 12 of our group watch of Windy Tales when I remarked that this series does weather as an element better than most anything I've seen. Literally all types of weather look so good. It's such a small detail, but at the same time a pretty significant detail when it comes to making an illustrated world feel alive. But before I get to the heart of that, I should probably elaborate why I thought this anime does weather particularly well. As Anti-Bully Ranger immediately pointed out, wind is a frontal motif, even in the title, so of course it should be depicted well. The characters remark, episode 1, how wind is only visible when it's affecting an object like clouds or cats. Yeah, definitely watch the show if you like cats. There's some great cats. But the task of depicting wind in animation is a task in and of itself. Having the characters' hair and clothes, as well as their environment, blow in the wind not simply occasionally, but consistently and believably, and even with enough variety so the audience doesn't get bored of the same wind effect or animation, since wind doesn't blow the same way every time, of course. Oh, and that's not even accounting for sound design. It's no wonder a lot of anime don't go this far depicting their wind. It's a lot of work. And I love how this show takes that a step further since the characters develop slight wind powers, and that magic can be seen with this really pretty rainbow effect. It makes an already very colorful show that much more vibrant, and the illustrative way the wind itself is visible with line work complements the sketchy rough backgrounds provided by the GOAT art director, Shichiro Kobayashi, and the sketchy illustrative character designs from Masasugu Arakawa. This is his only credit for character designs, by the way, making these original designs for this original anime that much more original. While the wind is the most standout and elaborate factor of weather in Windy Tales, naturally, again, I was actually impressed how this anime successfully makes all weather look good. Sunlight in particular stood out to me right from the OP. I can't think of another anime that does it this illustratively and prominently. It doesn't happen too often within the show itself, and from what I can recall, you almost never see the sun directly, just reflected in a window or in the corner of the screen like Dazaki used to do. I say almost never because of this show-stopping shot. Clouds are lovely in this show too. While the polygonal shape of the clouds aren't at all natural, the variance in size, shape, and spread of the clouds is realistic and immersive. To me, they're the defining aesthetic of the show, even more so than the wind. Snow and fog show up very sparsely, but they do make a strong impression in the few times that they're used. The snowflakes, in particular, remind me of something.
This is a story about a girl named Now who had magical wind powers.
And finally, the weather that incited this idea in the first place. I feel like rain in anime will never fail to enchant me. And while this is a fairly primitive depiction of rain, it still puts in the effort with those little circles of drops hitting the ground, the randomness of the rainfall, and the color palette of the backgrounds to match. This is probably just me who sees this, but even in this shot, I think about how when we see rain outside of a window, we only see the drops that are closest to us, and only an impression of rain in the distance. Though it's funny, for as decent the depiction of rain is in this episode to get me to think of this idea, the show actually completely outdoes itself in the next episode. It is absolutely mesmerizing. The multiple layers of line work in varying the lengths and widths. I love how fat the streaks of water are coming off of the umbrella here. Even the unnatural frame rate they're animated in makes it so charming. And none of this is fancy dressing either. It visibly affects the characters emotionally too. The artistic choices here are meaningful and resonant. I'm sure you could come to the defense of plenty of anime that also use weather pretty well. I haven't seen Weathering with You, I'm sure that's basically what that entire movie's about. But from what I've seen, nothing else makes quite as much of a statement with its weather as much as Windy Tales. This anime is not talked about pretty much at all, so I don't mean to say that this is the only thing it does well, nor would I think it does the best. That, to me, would be the music. I've heard a lot of soundtracks from Kenji Kawai. but none of them, I think, have made this much of an impression on me. It's definitely my favorite of his. Yeah, if you didn't know that this anime had this much talent behind it, which by the way was all put together by Mamoru Oshii, it's okay, I didn't either, but I hope it convinces you to watch the show. I just wanted to focus on this one aspect because I want to get better at noticing details like this, so I can appreciate anime more for what they do well. Because those small details really make a huge difference, even if it's something you don't outright notice until 12 out of 13 episodes deep. I don't think I actually went into much depth on that, with the small details and the big details thing. I'm sorry. Good show. Great cats. Yo, peace.